Don't be fooled by the relaxed pace of the Gwardar. It may lure you in, let you think it's a little tired, that it's not going to bite you. But beware, this is one snake that has been built for speed, and when cornered, moves like lightning.
Over logs and scrub, it can quickly outrun a human across rough terrain. In the open, on a straight bit of grass and that, you would outrun him, but it'd be close. This reflex is very switched on. As soon as it sees movement, it's got to react, and it's a nervous reaction. This is a snake that will, at all times, run away really fast, but when he's cornered, he will rear up, and that's when he will aggressively defend himself. If cornered, he's nervous, and he'll bite anything.
Gary Davies has been interested in snakes for as long as he can remember, and now spends much of his time educating both children and adults about staying safe around these often maligned reptiles.
The layman can't generally tell the difference, so treating all snakes as venomous and leaving them alone is your best bet. If you've got some way of telling a venomous from non-venomous and there's a snake that doesn't suit your mould, you can make a mistake very quickly.
Its venom is a highly potent neurotoxin that contains a procoagulant. Once bitten, the procoagulant at the bite site suggests the effect that the blood wants to clot. So the body sends out a thinning agent which unfortunately over-thins the blood so that it is no longer able to clot. The upshot is that the victim then hemorrhages from everywhere they can possibly hemorrhage from, and this massive bleeding, if not treated immediately, will most likely result in death. The Gwardar grows to roughly 1.5 meters, occasionally a little bigger, although this is quite rare. In relation to envenomation, it's the larger snakes that have the larger venom yield. But it doesn't matter so much about the quantity of the venom they pump in, as these are one of the most potent snakes in Australia and are venomous from the day they hatch.
The smallest Gwardar that actually killed an adult human was 60 centimetres long, and that killed an adult male. Often people get bitten by mistaken identity. Unfortunately, there was a fatality in Broome for someone who mistaken a black-headed form of these for a black-headed python and picked it up and was bitten and paid the ultimate price. It's really a venom you want to avoid at all costs.
A member of the brown snake family, the Gwardar is also commonly known as a western brown and can be found through the middle as well as across the top half of Australia from coast to coast. The brown snakes, including the eastern brown and the dugite, are a dominant species in Australia. Collectively, these snakes have the country covered and are responsible for most of the snake bite deaths across the land.
It's killed a lot, but on average we have 2 deaths a year Australia-wide by snake bite, so it's not a high number already. But the vast majority of those have been from the western brown. So if you work on about 2 deaths on average over the last 30 years, and a high percentage of them have been from this. But we're not talking large numbers anyway of deaths, not in Australia because we have such good medical facilities for snake bite.
Gwardar is the Aboriginal name for this snake, and for thousands of years, Indigenous Australians have had this snake worked out. Their advice is still the best there is.
Gwardar actually translate to go the long way around. It was how they taught their kids, if you see this snake, you go the long way around.
Going the long way around is wise, even if you think it may not be a Gwardar, as this snake is difficult to identify, especially when it's zipping along the ground. Long and slender is a good clue, but there are so many variables.
One of the worst identification tools is colour. This one is black and orange with bands and a black head, but you can get them straw brown, chocolate brown. You can get an orange one with a black head. They just have so many different colour forms. Typical is these orange spots going up the whole belly. If you can see those orange spots on his belly there, that's real typical of a Gwardar. High belly spots, but as an identification tool, if you're looking at the belly, you're usually too close.
The Gwardar isn't a lapid snake, so it has fixed front fangs that are like hypodermic needles from which the venom is injected. These fangs are quite small in size, thus making it hard to see the puncture marks. Plus, the bite is usually quite painless, so the telltale signs of attack are often negligible, until the effects of the venom take control. This family of snakes have replacement teeth on standby should they lose their front fangs. These develop along the jawline and can be rotated into place. Curiously, every so often the snake will stop in its tracks and realign its jaw. Its favorite food is mice, and since the introduction of mice into Australia, the western brown snake's population has grown dramatically in populated areas. Combine this, its love for hiding in nooks and crannies, its agility and aggression when cornered, and venom amongst the most potent in the world, it's no wonder that the Gwardar has been responsible for most of the snakebite deaths in Australia.
If he's sitting on the path and he's in your way, you go the long way around. The Aboriginal people taught their kids to leave this snake alone, and we should do the same.